Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo. Oh, let me fix my camera a little bit. Oh, hope you guys are doing good today. And this is just a little ice pack for my ribs. That's all that is. So don't mind that. It's just because I'm icing some ribs. A little sore. I'm 5 days in, so hey, doctors out there, what does that mean? You're 5 days in, breaking the old ribs. So, and then you get back to Arizona and you got allergies. Man, crazy. Anyway, let's see who's on. Laura, what's happening? You're a doctor, so you know what kind of pain goes on with the broken rib, that's for sure. So Laura's got a prayer request this morning. Please pray for Juan and Lupita. Juan is it says Banner, due to post-op complications from the removal of gallstones in his duct and the removal of his gallbladder. He has been in the ER for a couple of days now, so that's definitely a prayer request we want to meet. Absolutely. So we want to lift up Juan today for sure. We're going to be in Isaiah chapter 10 today on the Morning Devo with Bo. Oh, sorry about my voice again. And just Arizona allergies, that's all. Let's get into it. Why don't we go for it? Okay. So it says, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges. So these are, of course, the context is Israel, right? Israel's leadership, Israel's judges. And it says, and those who issue unfair laws. Interesting. In our day and age, we have a lot of people that have all kinds of laws that they want passed. I guess our law book, I don't know for sure, but I think our law book is pretty big. There's a ton of laws. You might know that more than me, but it says, they deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. What will you do when I punish you, when I send disaster upon you from a distant land? Remember, the Assyrian Empire has been prophesied by Isaiah to come in and take care of Judah and Jerusalem, that there's going to be a judgment on them. And it says, hey, you judges, there's only a matter of time before you kind of get yours kind of idea. You know, I think whenever we kind of look at people in power, we tend to think like, oh, you know, they have it made. And that's kind of a sad fallacy in a lot of ways. You know, some people might have gotten their wealth, you know, in wrong ways. There's no doubt about it. Some people ended up in poverty, right? And doing things wrong, and some people doing it right. The bottom line is God knows. God knows and keeps account of all of our doing. And sometimes when you're religious, like Israel, you tend to think like, oh, because Yahweh is on my side, you know, I can kind of do this or do that. And yet what I'm learning is like, nope, you know, it's like, even if you're Israel and you have entered into a covenant with Yahweh, you know, your leadership is going to be held accountable. And that is so true. So I can't be a religious person and just think like, oh, well, he's not really concerned with me anymore. You know, I'm in the kingdom. I'm part of the covenant, so I just can do whatever I want to do, that kind of idea. No, that shouldn't be in my life. I need to think about, hey, what am I doing? It does matter. And I can't hold a position that we start kind of exploiting, right? We start using our power to exploit people and use other people for our benefit kind of thing. And you see, that's what Isaiah is going after. I kind of love that so much about the book of Isaiah. is, it's not just this straight judgment, but it gets kind of specific on different people in the nation of Israel. And it says that, what will you do when I punish you? This is verse 3. When I send disaster upon you from a distant land, to whom will you turn for help? Where will your treasures be safe? Will you stumble along as prisoners or lie among the dead? But even then the Lord's anger will not be satisfied till his fist is still poised to strike. So we saw that yesterday, that kind of idea of fist of fury, so to speak, right? And then it says, what sorrow awaits Assyria, the rod of my anger? I will use it as a club to express my anger. I am sending Assyria against a godless nation, against a people with whom I am angry. Assyria will plunder them, trampling them like dirt beneath its feet. So it's really clear, right? God is going to use the Assyrian Empire as a judgment tool for the people of Judah and Jerusalem. It says, but the king of Assyria will not understand that he is my tool. His mind does not work that way. He's not going to know. People aren't going to know that the sovereign God is using them. Isn't that interesting? I love how specific it is. They ain't even going to know that God's in control, that God's planned this out. They're just not even going to know. They're going to be oblivious to it. His plan is simply to destroy. Hey, how does my mind work? Is my mind working in a way where I'm thinking about God, where my heart is turned towards God? That today your heart's turned towards God, that you're kind of not oblivious to his plan, to his ways. It says, he will say, each of my princes will soon be a king. We destroyed Calno just as we did Carchemish. Hamath fell before us as Arpad did, and we destroyed Samaria just as we did Damascus. Yes, we have finished off many a kingdom whose gods were greater than those in Jerusalem and Samaria. So we will defeat Jerusalem and her gods just as we destroyed Samaria with hers. After the Lord has used the king of Assyria to accomplish his purpose on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, he will turn against the king of Assyria and punish him. For he is proud and arrogant. He boasts, by my own powerful arm I have done this. With my own shrewd wisdom I planned it. I have broken down the defenses of nations and carried off their treasures. I have locked down their kings like a bull. Notice that God is not just in control and not just concerned or not just holding accountable Israel's king, but also Assyria's. See, this is the idea in Isaiah, is that God, Yahweh, is not just the God of Israel, but remember, God created the heavens and the earth. He simply called Israel from one man, right? Abraham. He called a nation out of that man to be the line that this anointed one would come out of, that there would be a testament, a testimony in this line, this ancestry of Abraham's and to the world. But yet Yahweh in all ways holds the world accountable, all people accountable for their actions. And so it's a lot broader. It's not like Yahweh was just Israel's God, and Yahweh just was this Canaanite kind of deity. No, the idea is that Yahweh is God of all the earth, right? Everybody, even the Assyrian Empire. So it says, I have robbed their nest of riches and gathered up kingdoms as a farmer gathers eggs. No one can even flap a wing against me or utter a peep of protest. Man, you guys don't even know what you're up against when you start going up against God. Are you fighting God today? Are you a person who just is going to keep fighting God? Just keep coming at him. Keep trying to kick against them, forget it, Are you that kind of arrogant, kind of like, certainly like we were progressive people, where we're like, there's no God, and if there is a God, I'm going to tell him what I think, and I'm going to give him the finger, and you get really brash and harsh, right, against God. And you say things that are just, you're in protest. You think you're going to give God a piece of your mind kind of idea, right? It says, but can the axe boast greater than the person who uses it? Is the saw greater than the person who saws? Can a rod strike unless a hand moves it? Can a wooden cane walk by itself? Therefore, the Lord of heaven's armies will send a plague among Assyria's proud troops, and a flaming fire will consume its glory. The Lord, the light of Israel, will be a fire. The Holy One will be a flame, burning up the enemy in a single night. The Lord will consume Assyria's glory like a fire consumes a forest in a fruitful land. It will waste away like sick people in a plague. Of all that glorious forest, only a few trees will survive, so few that a child could count them. In that day, the remnant of Israel, in that day, the remnant left in Israel, the survivors in the house of Jacob, will no longer depend on allies who seek to destroy them, but they will faithfully trust in the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. Okay, so there's going to come a time where there's going to be a restoration, that whoever is left in Israel will finally look up and start thinking about God. It's kind of like they finally hit bottom, right? Have you ever heard that term? Where you finally just hit bottom and you just go, enough, I'm done, and you start looking up. You're no longer trying to, seek other things, other people, but now you're looking to God. God, what can you do in me? What can your Holy Spirit do in me today? Change my life, make me new, renew my mind, that kind of idea. Strengthen my heart, strengthen my mind, strengthen my body. Lord, help me prosper in you, Lord, but let me look to you. Let me not turn away from you. Help me to trust in you. Remember those Psalms that were like that? And it says, and remember also that God is always talking about him being what? Holy. That's right. That God is being whole, in a sense, sanctified before the people through his judgments. When Israel judges, or when God judges Israel, what he's doing is he's saying, hey, I am not a God that just looks over everything. I am a holy God. See, a holy God has to judge. He has to be seen as holy. If you can just live any old way and God doesn't care, then God certainly ain't that holy, right? Because he just don't care, right? He's indifferent, right? But if he's truly holy, then there's going to be a judgment, a dealing with sin, with rebellion, right? With those hearts of envy and jealousy and pride and lustful behavior, all that. God's going to deal with those things because he's righteous, he's holy, and Isaiah just brings that point home. Hey, do I know God's holy today? Do I see God as holy today? And is there a reverence for that in my life? That, man, God's holy. And man, I need to learn to walk that way too in my life. And even though we certainly aren't perfect in that endeavor, man, that's how we want to start thinking and move in that direction. So it says, a remnant will return. Yes, the remnant of Jacob will return to the mighty God. But though the people of Israel are as numerous as the sand of the seashore, only a remnant of them will return. So there will be a return to the land at some point of Israel. It says at the time that Isaiah and this Assyrian Empire judges, and they will come back. Remember the books of Nehemiah and Ezra, very good ones to kind of write in there. It says, the Lord has rightly decided to destroy his people. Yes, the Lord of heaven's armies, has already decided to destroy the entire land. It's God's land. God could deal with it, and he's going to cleanse it. So this is what the Lord of heaven's army says. O my people in Zion, do not be afraid of the Assyrians when they oppress you with rod and club, as the Egyptians did long ago. In a little while, my anger against you will end, and then my anger will rise up to destroy them. The Lord of heaven's armies will lash them with his whip, as he did with Gideon when Gideon triumphed over the Midianites at the rock of Oreb, or when the Lord's staff was raised to down the Egyptian army in the sea. Sounds like the Red Sea time. It says, in that day the Lord will end the bondage of his people, and he will break the yoke of slavery and lift it from their shoulders. So we see this continual idea in the book of Isaiah 2 of God is going to be a God in Israel's existence, in their history, that will finally break the bondage of kind of Gentile, meaning non-Jewish oppression of them. This is what God is going to do in the nation of Israel. Free them from the oppressors. And God continues to do this. Now we have in the Messiah, Jesus, the one who has set us free from sin, from the wrath of sin. That's the idea. It's from the wrath against sin that the Father has. Not in the sense that from sin that we don't sin, but it's that the judgment that is due us because of our sin, the Son has set us free from that. You know, we are no longer, in a sense, slaves of sin. We're no longer in that bondage where we are being judged by all that. We are now forgiven in Christ. Read Colossians 1. Beautiful, right? And it says, look, the Assyrians are now at Aiath. They are passing through Migron, and they're storing their equipment at Michmash. They are crossing the pass and are camping at Geba. Fear strikes the town of Ramah. All the people of Gibeah, the hometown of Saul, are running for their lives. Scream in terror, you people of Galim. Shout out a warning at Lachish. O poor Anathoth. There go the people of Madmenah, all fleeing. The citizens of Gibeon are trying to hide. The enemy stops at Nob for the rest of that day. He shakes his fist at beautiful Mount Zion, the mountain of Jerusalem. Notice that persecution, or I should say war, takes place, and Israel is upset. And what are they doing? Shaking their fist at God. Oh man. Upset at God because of their own, rebellion. Isn't that how we are as human beings, man? We're the ones that rebel, and then, we're like held accountable to it, and then we get mad at God. It's kind of interesting that we have such rebellious hearts like that. Maybe you've seen that in your own life too, where you've seen kind of just a rebellious nature and then you've kind of wanted to blame. And, that's always a kind of a sign of something maybe's wrong with us as humans, is that we're continually blaming, almost like back in the garden. Hey, God, you made this woman, and she gave me the fruit to eat, that kind of deal. We're just continuing that same theme over and over in our lives, sometimes in our marriages, sometimes in our relationships, where we're constantly blaming the other person, instead of taking the responsibility and just saying, hey, we blew it. We didn't do the right thing. It's so hard for even our government to say things like that, right? We just went through, 4 years of craziness. Unbelievable loss of life on massive scale. Never thought I would live through something like that, where millions of people die. And yet, no one comes out and says, we're sorry. No, I haven't heard any person on news networks, we did things wrong. We said the wrong thing. We said this was a lie when it wasn't a lie. We said this was this and that wasn't. Nothing like that, right? Instead, we just shake fists at one another. It's crazy, right? And it's just a microcosm of us, how we are like that, just individually. Instead of just looking at one another and just saying, hey, I did the wrong thing. I didn't do the right thing. We don't go that route. We go another route. Our pride, our stubbornness, man, it is off the charts. It says, but look, the Lord of heaven's armies, will chop down the mighty tree of Assyria. With the great power, he will cut down the proud. The lofty tree will be brought down. He will cut down the forest trees with an axe. Lebanon will fall with the mighty one. So it says God's going to break the slavery of the Assyrian Empire. He's going to actually judge them. They're going to be the ones, sounds like, that are going to shake their fist at Mount Zion and the mountains of Jerusalem. So we saw that not only does Israel shake their fist at God and they're upset at God, but we see that when God judges the Assyrians, they will be upset at the God of Israel as well, but because he's the God of the whole earth. He's the one who made the whole earth, and he will cut down the proud, right? And he will humble them. He will bring them down. The big trees are usually a picture of like kings or kingdoms, will be cut down. There's no doubt that every kingdom has its day, has its high point, and then it's got its low point. And who knows where we're at in ours, but in our United States. But, we can all just individually just work on us, though, right? Maybe to learn to be a little more honest and come to God in a humble way and not be so proud, right? To work on that pride part of us. That would be a good thing. So, maybe check your pride today and think about chapter 10 and go, hey, God's going to bring down Israel. He's going to bring down the Assyrians. He'll restore Israel for sure. We see that. But God, he needs to bring me down too. And, I must decrease and he must what? Increase. That's the idea. I need to get lower. So I hope that helps this morning. It certainly helps me just to get into it and think about it. And I love you guys. Thanks so much for joining me on the Devo. We will talk to you soon, okay? Bye-bye.